The stars did not speak. They only watched, cold, distant, silent. In the middle of the void, far from any planet or system, a fleet floated in darkness. These ships were once proud vessels of the Zerani Empire, one of the oldest alien civilizations in the galaxy. But now, they were broken, powerless, and dying. The lead ship, Vornar's Pride, no longer had pride. Its engines were dead. Life support was failing. Half the crew was already gone, some from wounds, others from cold or hunger. The rest were just waiting for the end. Commander Drexel Vorn, once a fierce military leader, now sat quietly in his command chair. His eyes were sunken. His voice was weak. He had sent over 50 distress signals into deep space. No one had answered. No rescue ships, no allies, not even pirates came. The fleet had been stranded after a surprise ambush from their rivals, the Jevkari swarm, during what was supposed to be a peaceful patrol mission. We were bait, Drexel whispered to himself. They had been sent there on purpose, to be cut off, to die quietly. The other ships in the fleet were just as silent. Their lights were dim, systems barely alive. The only sound inside the Vornar's Pride was the soft hum of backup batteries. And breathing, tired, heavy breathing. In the medical bay, Medic Kyle tried to comfort a young crew member whose leg had been amputated. "Will we be saved?" the young Zerani asked. Kyle didn't lie. He didn't give false hope. "I don't know." Time passed slowly. 1 day, 2, 4. More systems failed. Water recycling stopped. Artificial gravity flickered. The food stores had already been stretched thin, and now there was only silence. Even the crew had stopped speaking. They simply waited. But then, something blinked. A tiny red dot appeared on the sensor screen. The officer watching almost ignored it. Another space rock, maybe. But this dot was moving, fast, controlled, and headed toward them. "Commander Drexel," the officer called. "We have movement." Drexel opened his tired eyes. "What kind of movement?" The officer leaned in, staring hard at the flickering screen. "It's a ship, sir. But I don't recognize the design. It's not Zerani, not Jevkari, not any of the known empires, and it's coming fast." The bridge crew gathered. One by one, half-dead officers pulled themselves to their posts. Drexel gave the order to activate the comms again. "Unknown vessel," he said through the open channel. "This is Commander Drexel Vorn of the Zerani fleet. We are stranded. We do not seek conflict. Please identify yourself." No answer. But the ship was getting closer. In the deep void, a new light was forming. It was sharp, clean, metallic. The alien fleet, Zerani survivors, could now see it with their eyes. A massive black ship shaped like a blade, with bright blue engines, came into view. It looked like a warship, big, dangerous, silent. "Raise shields," Drexel said, even though they barely had any energy left. "We can't," one officer replied. "All defense systems are offline." The ship kept coming, closer, closer. Its weapons were clearly visible: turrets, missile pods, railguns. It could wipe them all out in seconds. Some officers prayed, some grabbed weapons, even if they were useless. Then, the ship stopped. Just a few hundred kilometers away, it floated silently. No weapons fired, no messages received, just silence. Suddenly, a ping echoed through their system. Incoming message language. Unknown. Translating. 42%. 68%. 94%. Complete. The message played through the bridge speakers. "Zerani Fleet, this is Commander Rhea Morgan of the United Earthship Soul's Mercy. We received your distress call. We are here to help." For a moment, no one said anything. Then Drexel frowned. "Earth? What is Earth? I don't know, the officer replied. Commander Ria's voice continued, calm and strong. You are not alone. We have medical aid, supplies, and repair drones. Hold position. Assistance is coming. What do we do? Medic Kale asked. Nothing, Drexel replied. We can't stop them if they mean harm, but if they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. A few minutes later, hundreds of small drones emerged from the human ship. They swarmed across the void, each one carrying tools, crates, or energy packs. One drone landed on the Vornar's Pride. The Zerani aimed weapons, but the drone only opened its small hatch and released oxygen canisters and food packets. Another drone came and connected a power line, giving the ship emergency power. Then came the message again, this time with a face. A human woman, brown-skinned with short dark hair and a clear military uniform, appeared on the screen. This is Commander Ria Morgan, she said. We are from Earth. We are not part of your empire. We are here for one reason, because no one else came. Drexel stood slowly. You risk your lives for us. Why? Commander Ria looked straight into the screen. Because that's what humans do. The bridge was silent again. But it was not the same silence. It was the silence of shock, of hope. For the first time in weeks, the crew of the Zerani fleet felt something they thought they'd lost. Not food, not fuel, but life. And far above, in the cold galaxy where silence ruled for so long, humanity had answered. The alien crew stood frozen. The message still echoed in their ears. We are from Earth. We are not part of your empire. We are here for one reason, because no one else came. Commander Drexel Vorn stared at the screen. The human ship, Saul's, Mercy, remained in place. No weapons fired, no demands, only help. Earth, Drexel said again, slowly. That name, it's not in our records. He turned to his officer. Any known data on this species? The officer checked the archives. Some very old logs mention Earth. A primitive world, barely spacefaring. The Accord ignored it. For centuries. And now, Drexel whispered, they found us when no one else did. Outside the window, the human drones moved fast. They worked with precision and intelligence. One team fixed the external power relays. Another repaired damaged antenna arrays. Each drone carried a small Earth emblem, a blue planet wrapped in golden stars. Medic Kyle walked through the corridors, watching crew members stare at the gifts. Real. Food, clean water, fresh medical supplies. Some wept. Others didn't know how to react. Who are these humans? Kyle asked softly. What do they want? A new message arrived. This time, personal. Commander Ria's face appeared again on screen. Commander Drexel, may I request direct communication? I want to speak face-to-face, holographic if needed. Drexel hesitated. He wasn't sure if this was a trick, but Earth hadn't hurt them, not once. Accept the call, he said. A moment later, the bridge lights shifted. A bright blue shimmer filled the room, and then a human appeared in holographic form. She stood tall. Clean uniform. Calm eyes. I am Commander Ria Morgan of Earth's Outer Reach Fleet, she said. I speak for no empire, only for my crew and my people. Drexel studied her. Why help us? You owe us nothing. The Accord left us to die. Ria nodded slowly. I know. We saw the signals, all 50. No one responded. Not even those who call you allies. And yet you came, Drexel said. Yes, she replied, because we remember what it's like to be alone in space. Silence filled the room. She wasn't arrogant. She wasn't afraid. She was honest. We don't want payment, Ria continued. We don't want territory. All we want is to get your people home. Drexel was speechless. Why would humans do this? Because humans have a rule, she said. If someone is in trouble, we help, even if they're not human. Across the fleet, Zerani crew members watched the human aid work. Gravity was restored. Lights turned back on. Clean air flowed again. Medic Kale worked in the sickbay. A human drone entered silently and handed over real medicine. Some of the wounded Zerani cried when the pain faded for the first time in weeks. "Miracle," one whispered. "No," Kyle replied. "Human." Then something strange happened. The human ship sent another message, a warning. "We've picked up distant movement, multiple warp signatures, ships approaching from deep space." Drexel stiffened. "Jevkari?" "Unknown," Rhea said. "But they're not responding to our hails, and they're armed." Fear spread like fire. The Zerani fleet was still too weak to fight. Their weapons were dead, shields gone. Even after repairs, they could not survive another battle. "We need to run," one officer said. "We can't," Drexel replied. "Our engines are still cold," a new voice cut in. "We'll protect you." Commander Rhea stood tall in the hollow. Her face was firm, serious. Earth wasn't leaving. Minutes later, the Sol's Mercy moved in front of the Zerani fleet, between them, and the oncoming threat. Only one ship, standing alone. As the unidentified vessels closed in, Commander Rhea opened a final channel. "This is Earth's warship Sol's Mercy," she said to the unknown ships. "These people are under our protection. Turn back now, or face consequences." No reply. Weapons lit up on the enemy ships. On the Zerani bridge, the crew held their breath. Drexel looked at the human ship in the distance, small but powerful. "They'll be destroyed," he said. Kale shook his head. "No," he whispered. "Humans are not ghosts. They are storms." The darkness of space flickered. 3 unidentified ships came out of warp. Their hulls were black, their engines burned red, and their weapons glowed. They didn't answer calls. They didn't speak. They were here to finish the job. Commander Drexel Vorn stood on the bridge of the Vornar's Pride, watching the enemy approach. His crew was weak, their systems still not ready. They had no way to escape. And yet, between them and destruction, stood only one ship, the human warship, Sol's Mercy. Inside the human ship, Commander Rhea Morgan watched calmly from her command chair. Her ship's crew waited for her orders. They weren't nervous. They were ready. "Shields to full," she said. "Weapons hot. But wait." "Commander," her second officer asked, "should we fire first?" "No," Rhea said. "We came with open hands. But if they try to harm the innocent, we close the hands into fists." A message was sent again. "This is Commander Rhea Morgan of Earth. You are approaching a protected fleet. Any act of aggression will be met with force." The 3 enemy ships didn't answer. Instead, they locked weapons. In the Zerani fleet, panic began. "We have to run," an officer yelled. "We can't," Drexel shouted. "Our engines are still offline." "They'll wipe us out," someone said. "No," Drexel replied quietly. He stared at the human ship. "They're not moving. They're not afraid." Suddenly, red flashes lit up the stars. The enemy ships opened fire. Missiles, plasma bolts, heavy lasers, all aimed at Sol's Mercy. The Zerani watched in horror, but the human ship didn't move. It didn't run. Instead, it absorbed every hit with glowing shields. No damage. Then, Earth responded. "Return fire," Commander Rhea said. Calmly. In seconds, Sol's Mercy unleashed a wall of power. Railguns roared. Beam cannons fired. 2 of the enemy ships took direct hits and vanished. The third turned to escape. But Rhea's voice came again. "Target engines only. Let them crawl home." A single plasma shot hit the final ship's engines, disabling it. No kill, no destruction, just a warning. Inside the Vornar's Pride, silence. Commander Drexel couldn't believe it. One ship. They destroyed them with one ship. The crew stood in shock. not because of the victory, but because humans could have killed them all, and chose not to. An hour later, more human drones arrived. They weren't carrying weapons. They carried repair kits, fresh food, and blankets. Zerani crew, still shaken, watched as humans walked among them, calm, professional, and kind. Commander Rhea sent another message. "We'll stay with your fleet until full repairs are done. We can guide you to the nearest safe system," Drexel replied slowly. "You just saved our lives. You could have asked for anything. Payment, control, even surrender." Rhea smiled faintly. "We're not here to take. We're here to help." Medic Kale treated injured crew with new human med kits. They worked faster than Zerani tech. Some wounds healed completely in minutes. He looked at the Earth emblem on a med drone. "They came with weapons," Kale whispered, "but used medicine first." Later that day, Drexel spoke privately to his officers. "I thought we were forgotten, that the galaxy left us to die." He looked at the screen showing Sol's Mercy floating nearby. But humans, they came. Not with demands, not with greed. He paused. They came, with open hands. And across the cold silence of space, the galaxy had no answer for what it saw. Just one human warship, alone, but enough to change everything. The stars had returned to silence. But this time, it was not peaceful. The enemy was gone. The Zerani fleet had survived. And the humans, those strange warriors from Earth, were still standing beside them. But something wasn't right. Even Commander Drexel Vorn felt it. It was like a shadow had fallen over the fleet, invisible but cold and heavy. Inside the Vornar's pride, Medic Kale was checking supplies when the lights flickered again. He looked up. "Not another system failure," he muttered. But this time it wasn't a power issue. It was something else. Strange signal had entered their systems. It was quiet, broken, like a whisper made of static. "Let them die." Kale froze. He leaned closer to the comms panel. The message repeated, "They don't deserve saving." He quickly called the bridge. On the bridge, Drexel and his officers replayed the signal. It was weak, full of distortion, but real. The words were simple but chilling. "They were meant to die in the dark. You are interfering. Earth must not protect them." Commander Drexel stood still. "These aren't normal transmissions," he said. "They're messages, threats." "From who?" an officer asked. No one knew. Across space, the Sol's Mercy also picked up the signal. Commander Rhea Morgan narrowed her eyes as her tech officer enhanced the message. "It's bouncing between old relay stations," the officer said. "Hidden, unregistered ones. Someone doesn't want to be found." "But they want us to hear this," Rhea replied. She leaned forward. "This isn't just a random threat. It's a warning. Someone powerful doesn't want the Zerani saved." Later, Rhea opened a private channel to Commander Drexel. "You've been set up," she said. Drexel nodded slowly. "I know. The Jevkari swarm ambushed you too easily," Rhea added. "It wasn't a mistake. Someone wanted your fleet out here, stranded, forgotten." "And now they're angry we didn't die," Drexel said. Meanwhile, Kale was treating injured crew when a young engineer came running. "Medic! The backup logs! Someone tampered with them!" Kyle followed him to the computer bay. Inside, they found traces of altered data, fake orders, masked signals, and erased navigation records. "Someone from inside the fleet helped set this trap," Kale whispered. Back on the human ship, Rhea and her crew reviewed the transmissions. The voice in the message was not machine-made. It was real, old, cold, and familiar. Rhea recognized the tone, a high member of the Galactic Accord. "They're behind this," she said. "They wanted the Zerani fleet to vanish quietly. No war, no questions." Her officer asked, "So what now?" Rhea stood up. Now we make sure the galaxy hears everything. Later that night, as the fleets floated in silence, the human ship sent out a new kind of signal. Not a private message, a broadcast. One anyone in the galaxy could receive. This is Commander Rhea Morgan of Earth. We have found survivors, abandoned, by their own kind. They were left to die in the void. Earth will not allow that. Commander Drexel listened quietly. So did Kale. So did millions of others. On faraway planets, in old space stations, in forgotten colonies, people heard the truth. And the shadows in power? They were furious. In one hidden chamber of a galactic accord. Station, a figure slammed a fist onto the console. They've made it public, another figure replied coldly. Then send the others. This isn't over. But on the edge of space, where silence once ruled, Earth had spoken, and the darkness had heard it. The galaxy had heard Earth's voice. But not everyone was glad. Commander Rhea Morgan's broadcast had revealed the truth. The Zerani were not lost by accident. They were abandoned. And someone wanted that secret to stay hidden. Now that someone was striking back, inside the Vornar's pride, a silent alarm began to flash. Commander Drexel, an officer shouted. Explosions on Deck 4 of the Narrated, one of our support ships. Drexel's eyes widened. Was it a power surge? No, sir. Internal detonation. Someone planted a bomb. Moments later, the damaged ship, Narrated, tilted. In space, bleeding fire and debris, dozens were dead. Many more were trapped. Rescue drones rushed from the human ship trying to control the damage. But this was no accident. Commander Rhea called Drexel immediately. We're detecting coded transmissions from inside your fleet, she said. Someone is working against us from within. Meanwhile, Medic Kyle was helping the injured when he heard something strange, a whisper from a wounded officer. It wasn't them. I saw it. He sent the signal. Kyle leaned closer. Who? The injured officer gasped. Lieutenant Soren. He contacted the Accord. Then his eyes closed. Gone. Kyle rushed to the command deck. Commander, we have a traitor in the fleet. Within minutes, security teams stormed Deck 2, where Lieutenant Soren, a communication officer, was hiding. They found him trying to destroy evidence, logs, messages, and stolen codes. He didn't deny it. They told us the humans would make things worse, Soren said coldly. The Accord said we were too weak to be saved. You believed them? Drexel asked, shocked. Soren's voice didn't shake. I believed they were right. Commander Drexel had him locked away, but the damage was done. Soren had given the enemy their location. Again. Back on the Sol's Mercy, Commander Rhea watched the new incoming warp signatures. Multiple ships, 4, maybe 5. Her officer reported. Type? Rhea asked. Galactic Accord interceptors, heavy class. Rhea's expression hardened. So now they don't hide. She opened a channel to Drexel. We have more incoming, and this time they won't just threaten. The Zerani fleet was still recovering. Engines half repaired, shields still weak. They couldn't run, and they couldn't fight. But Earth could. Rhea turned to her crew. Position us between the enemy and the fleet. We hold the line. Her officer looked nervous. Alone, Commander. Rhea nodded. Yes, alone if we must. Commander Drexel stood on his bridge, watching the human warship move forward again. This was the second time Earth stood between them and destruction. Why? He didn't understand it. He just felt it. They could have left, Drexel whispered. Kyle stood beside him, but they didn't. And in the deep black of space, 5 Accord warships arrived. Weapons armed, intent clear. But in their way, one ship, Earth's ship. The 5 Galactic Accord warships hovered in the dark like predators, cold, silent, deadly. They were stronger than the Jevkari attackers, bigger, heavier, faster. And now they had only one target in their path, the human ship, Sol's Mercy. Commander. Rhea Morgan stood at the center of her warship's command deck. She didn't blink, didn't flinch. Her crew waited. Tension thickened. "Are we alone in this?" her second officer asked. Ria's answer was clear. "Yes, but we are enough." Back. In the damaged Zerani fleet, Commander Drexel Vorn watched from his bridge. The human ship stood between them and certain death, for the second time. He knew they didn't have the strength to help, but watching Earth stand alone made his heart burn. "We owe them everything," Drexel whispered. The Accord ship sent. A single transmission. "Stand down, human vessel. These aliens are enemies of peace. They are to be erased," Ria answered. "Not while we breathe," the Accord warned again. "You will be destroyed," Ria's reply was calm. "Then come try." Weapons charged. Missile bays opened. Beam cannons lit up on both sides, and then fire. The first Accord ship fired plasma torpedoes. The human ship responded instantly, intercepting all missiles mid-flight using rapid flaks, bursts, and automated rail turrets. Sol's Mercy surged forward. Her shields burned, but held strong. "Return fire!" Ria shouted. The human warship unleashed its full fury, railguns hammering, pulse beams cutting through space. One Accord ship lost its outer hull. The others regrouped. Then they all fired together. Inside Sol's Mercy, red lights flashed. The ship shook violently. "Shields at 63%, a technician yelled. "Hold steady," Ria replied. They were outnumbered 5-1, but they didn't back down. On the Zerani bridge, Drexel's crew watched in silence. "They're going to die," one officer said softly. Kale answered, "Maybe, but they're dying for us." Drexel couldn't take it anymore. "Are our engines online?" he shouted. "Barely, Commander. Then we move. All ships. Form behind the human ship. Let them know they're not alone." Slowly, the damaged Zerani fleet began to shift. Their engines sparked, shields flickered, but they moved. Behind the Earth warship, they formed a line, weak but proud, on. The command screen of Sol's Mercy, new signals appeared. "Commander," the officer said, surprised. "The Zerani ships, they're joining us." Ria looked at the screen and smiled faintly. "Good," she said. "Now we're not alone." Together, the humans and Zerani formed a wall, one powerful ship, many broken ones, but they stood, not to conquer, not to threaten, but to protect. Accord ships paused. For the first time, they hesitated, and that was enough. Ria opened one final broadcast. "To the Accord fleet, if you fire again, you fire on both Earth and Zerani. If you kill us, you become the enemy of everyone watching." And, in that moment, unknown to many, the entire message was being broadcast across space, every colony. Every outpost, every corner of the galaxy was listening, and Earth had just drawn the line. The Accord ships held position, then slowly, they turned. One by one, they jumped away. Inside Sol's Mercy, the crew cheered. Inside the Vornars, "Pride!" the Zerani cried. Commander Ria looked out the window at the damaged alien fleet behind her. She didn't say much, just one line. "This is what defense looks like." And in that silent stretch of stars, something changed forever. The galaxy had just witnessed a new kind of power, not made of weapons, but of choice. The stars were quiet again, but not for long. The Zerani ships floated in formation behind Sol's Mercy, damaged but still alive. Humans had saved them, stood for them, bled for them. Commander Drexel Vorn sat quietly on the bridge. The silence felt heavy. He knew what had just happened wasn't victory. It was only the beginning. On Earth's flagship, Sol's Mercy, Commander Ria Morgan stared at a screen full of reports. Galactic Accord ships had retreated, but their message was clear. "Earth has violated Treaty Protocol 91B. Interference in internal alien conflict. Rhea read the message again. She didn't flinch, but she did whisper to herself, "They just made it official. Earth is now an enemy." High above the galactic core, in the floating fortress called Valkorion Prime, the Galactic Accord Council gathered. A dozen species. Cold voices. Old rules. Earth interfered where they were not called, one counselor said. They protected. "A species marked for extinction," said another. But one voice, the only human diplomat present, stood up and asked, "Did they protect? Or did they expose you?" The room fell silent, because they knew the truth. The Accord hadn't warned Earth out of kindness. They hadn't stayed neutral. They had chosen to let the Zorani die, because it was easier, because it was cleaner, because the galaxy feared change. But Earth refused to look away, and now the universe had seen it. On board Saul's Mercy, a transmission came in. A private one. It wasn't from Earth. Not from any human colony. It was from a Varnathi smuggler, far out on the edge of Accord space. He whispered, "We saw what you did. We saw how you stood for them. You're not alone anymore. The stars are watching." Then he vanished. Commander Rhea turned to her crew. "They think we broke a treaty," she said. "But we broke something else." "What, ma'am?" her second officer asked. "The illusion that they are always right, that silence is safer than truth." Meanwhile, in the Zorani capital ship, Drexel stood before his people. He activated the old War Council table. For years, it had been cold, dusty, forgotten. Now it lit up. "The humans didn't just protect us," he said. "They reminded us who we are." Kyle, standing beside him, added, "They gave us something back. Hope." In hidden corners of space, whispers grew louder. From the ruined worlds of the Ithari to the enslaved colonies of the Dravax, voices rose. "If Earth stood for the Zorani, will they stand for us too?" The Galactic Accord had cracked open the galaxy's biggest fear, that Earth would choose justice over silence. Back on Valkorion Prime, an Accord general slammed his fist on the table. "If Earth won't follow our laws, they must be punished." And so they made a decision. A message was sent to every major system. Earth is no longer protected under Galactic Accord treaty law. Trade is banned, travel is forbidden, and any act of alliance with Earth will be considered treason. They thought this message would isolate Earth. Instead, it started something far worse, because in the shadows, voices answered back, "We're with Earth." And so, in the space between stars, while the galaxy tried to hold on to fear, a quiet fire began to grow. It had no name, but it had a face, humanity. The galaxy was no longer silent. Every system, every race, every border world had heard the news. Earth had broken the treaty, the Accord had declared them dangerous, and the Zorani were now under Earth's protection. But something strange happened. The stars did not turn away. Instead, many began to turn toward Earth. In the shadows of the broken mining colonies of Zerath 9, a small insectoid race known as the Thrix listened to the transmission. They had once asked the Accord for help, and were ignored. Now they watched the footage of humans protecting the Zorani, and their elder clicked slowly, whispering, "Humans are different. They bled for others." A signal was sent, small, quiet, secret. "To Earth, we wish to talk." In another corner of space, deep inside the Velgar expanse, the warrior birds known as the Corveth sat in their war chambers. They respected strength, and when they saw the human warships refuse to leave the battlefield, even when outnumbered, they saw not weakness, but honor. Their leader, Skylord Varkan, watched Earth's ships hover beside damaged Zorani vessels and said, "They do not abandon those they protect. That is the old way. That is the way we once followed." He turned to his war council. "Send a ship, quietly. Let's see if Earth still honors warriors." Meanwhile, back aboard Saul's Mercy, Earth's flagship, Commander Rhea Morgan looked over the incoming messages. There were hundreds. From forgotten planets, from pirate kings, from slave worlds, from scientists, warriors, exiles, rebels, all asking the same thing. Will Earth speak to us? But Earth was now under pressure. Accord sanctions had started. Earth's fuel convoys were being blocked. Human diplomats were being expelled. Colonies were getting cut off. But not a single human ship turned back, and not a single fleet was recalled. They stood their ground beside the Zerani. Rhea smiled and told her crew, "They want to cut us off? Fine. Let them see what we do without them." On Zerani Prime, Drexel Vorn met with his council. They were scared, but inspired. One elder said, "We owe the humans everything, but if we join them, we risk total war." Kyle stood up, eyes blazing. "If we do not join them, we go back to silence. We go back to extinction." The council was split. But in that silence, the people of Zerani chose first. They marched through the capital, carrying banners that read, "Earth stood for us. Now we stand with Earth." The Galactic Accord watched all this from their towers. At first, they laughed. Then, they got worried. Because their power came from fear and order, and Earth was replacing fear with hope. They sent a final warning, a direct message to Earth's Prime Commander. "If you do not retreat, we will bring the full force of the Accord against your worlds, Rhea." Read it aloud on the bridge. Her answer was simple. "Then come. But know this. When you arrive, we won't be alone anymore." And she was right. Because across the galaxy, old enemies were becoming new allies, broken races were finding courage, and forgotten planets were whispering, "Earth hears us." The stars had begun to choose, and they were choosing humanity. The Accord did not wait anymore. Their patience was gone, their pride was wounded, and their fear of Earth was now growing. So they sent the last warning. A huge transmission echoed across the galaxy. It was not private. It was meant for all. On every colony, station, and starship. The message played, "Earth has broken the pact of unity. They've defied the Council. They've protected enemies of order. This is the final warning. Leave the Zerani, or face destruction." And then they added the name that made everyone freeze. Fleet Executioner Val Theron has been awakened. He comes to bring peace through annihilation. The name spread like wildfire. Val Theron, a name from the old wars. He had destroyed 6 civilizations. His fleet had turned moons to ash. He was more than a commander. He was a myth. Even Drexel Vorn's voice shook as he said the name aloud. "Val Theron, the Butcher of Solari Prime. He's real?" Rhea Morgan looked at her bridge crew. Their faces were hard. No one ran. She answered, calm and cold. "He's real, but so are we." Across the stars, some began to retreat. Some planets pulled back their support. The Thrix stopped answering. The IJ Corvette warships went dark. The fear returned. Old fear, the kind that kept the galaxy quiet for centuries. But not everyone backed down. One human colony, New Aragon, broadcasted a message. "We will not bend to ghosts." And then a surprise. The Valari, an ancient race of crystal-skinned nomads, long thought neutral, sent a fleet to Earth's border. Not to fight them, to join them. Their leader said only one thing. "We remember what it means to fight for the weak." Val Theron's ships entered the edge of Zerani space. Dark, silent, deadly. They didn't broadcast. They didn't speak. They just approached, like a storm. And every ship in their path shut down, fearing detection. Onboard Saul's Mercy, Sensors picked them up. Hundreds of ships, black hulls, no light, no life signs showing. Only a single message blinked in red on the screen. You had your chance. Commander Morgan stared at the screen. She could feel the tension across the fleet. All of Earth's ships, over 80 warships, stood between the Accord and the Zarani. It wasn't enough, but she spoke clearly. Broadcast to all. Human vessels. Tell them, hold the line, no one passes. The crew stood up. No panic, only purpose. Old Earth words were whispered. If we fall standing. And as Val Theron's fleet grew closer, as the last warning passed into silence, and as the void prepared for war, the humans prepared too, not to beg, not to run, but to remind the stars. We are still here. The void was silent. No sound, no light, no movement, but tension crackled between the stars like lightning waiting to strike. Val Theron's fleet arrived, silent giants of war, blacker than night. Their ships had no lights, no signals, no mercy. They were executioners, and they had come for Earth. Commander Rhea Morgan stood on the bridge of Sol's Mercy. Her fleet, smaller, outgunned, stood ready. Earth's banner flew beside the Zarani's. The Accord had given them a chance to walk away, but humanity didn't. Run. Not today. The human warships activated full shields, weapons locked, engines burned bright. Every captain knew this might be their last stand. He's coming, whispered Ensign Talek, eyes wide, and then they saw it. The lead ship, Val Theron's flagship, the Blood Crown. It was monstrous, covered in ancient scars from forgotten wars, powered by tech no one understood, driven by the will of a man called a ghost. Inside the Accord fleet, silence reigned, until Val Theron finally spoke. His voice was deep, cruel, and cold. You protect weaklings, you betray the balance, and now you burn. With that, the Blood Crown launched the first strike. A black beam cut across the void, fast, deadly. It slammed into one of Earth's outer frigates. The Dawn's horizon exploded. Hundreds died instantly, but no one ran. Instead, Morgan gave the order. Fire all batteries, engage! The void lit up. Missiles, beams, drones, kinetic slugs. War turned space into a sea of fire. Human ships dodged and fought like wolves. The Accord expected fear. They got fury. They got Earth. Sol's Mercy led the charge. Its main cannon roared, punching a hole through one of Theron's destroyers. The Zarani ships, once broken, now fought beside them, guided by humans. One Zarani pilot cried out, "We are not alone anymore!" The Blood Crown was a monster, but even monsters bleed. 3 human ships sacrificed themselves to punch through its shields. Rhea Morgan ordered the final strike. Fire the Nova Lance! The beam fired, straight into the Crown's heart. The blast tore through its hull, ripping into the core. A shockwave burned through the fleet. Val Theron's flagship exploded, a sun in the darkness. The Accord fleet hesitated. Their myth had died. Their ghost was just a man. And Earth? Earth still stood. Across the stars, silence returned. But it was different now, no longer fearful silence. Respectful silence. The kind that follows bravery. The kind that changes empires. In the aftermath, the galaxy shifted. The Zarani joined Earth's alliance. Other races came forward too, nervous but hopeful. And the Accord. They retreated into shadow, their power broken. Rhea Morgan sat alone, staring out into space. So many lost, so many saved, but one thing was now certain. They will never forget us again. And deep in the heart of the stars, a message began. To spread, it had no sender, no name, only 5 words. Humanity does not abandon allies.